Well, the real cricket has finally arrived. And of course, we're talking about Major League Cricket. India have absolutely smoked the West Indies in the first test match. The women have finally retained the Ashes. But can they win it in Taunton tonight? And that's all before the fourth test match at Old Trafford. This episode of The Great Cricket is brought to you by Budgy Smuggler, budgysmuggler.com.au for all of your swimwear needs, all of your hat needs, all of your shirt needs, all of your stubby holder needs. I tell you what, it's getting pretty hot. It's getting pretty spicy in the Northern Hemisphere. If you're heading to the Northern Hemisphere for a little summer sojourn, budgysmuggler.com. Use the code goodareas for free shipping. That code is both valid in Australia and the UK, of course. It's skies out, thighs out stuff. It's no hat, no play kind of weather. But Pezza, I think it's actually supposed to rain in Manchester this week. And so are you hoping for a draw?
I'll take anything. At this point. Yeah, it's been good. It's been good to sleep. It's been good to get the cycles back. Our stress has decreased in between games of the men.
See, I'm scared with that because I feel like I need to get back into the UK cycle now because I feel like
you're about to get back into it.
I have to get back into it.
You're about to be thrown back into the maelstrom.
Right. Which
is a sociological term for men getting together, maelstrom.
Yes, different to the mail room.
We've tended to the garden. You know, we've had a chance to glance at record-breaking temperatures, Northern Hemisphere, China, racking up the half century, start again, kind of stuff. Fran Drescher's a union boss now.
Right.
Yep. And it sounds good. You haven't seen that?
No,
right as an actor's strike, yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, that stuff. Yeah, sorry. I thought I was still talking about global warming.
I thought you were talking about rugby union, just a new Wallabies coach. Taylor Swift's tickets went on sale.
Yeah.
Swifties and that.
Yeah. Well, I'm right across that.
But now we can look forward to people using the phrase resume hostilities.
Yeah.
The next 48 hours will be a lot of that. England's named their team 2 days out again. You can't say they aren't committed to the bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Moeen at 3.
Yeah.
Jimmy will play because he's got a bowl from the Jimmy Anderson end.
That's funny.
That's good. It's very committed.
Yes.
To the bit. You know, things are changing. My phone is now correctly predicting to Bazball from baseball.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's just going. I'm typing it in. It's just going Bazball.
It's going into it.
Yeah.
Mine stopped doing the duck to fuck thing. So
yeah, that was a policy.
That was part of the. I saw that. Yeah,
that was a policy.
Yeah, so it's part of the software update.
Yeah.
Something to look forward to there for software update fans.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I feel like for Australia, it's just, you know, they went 2-0 up, and then it's just 3 bites of the cherry. Can they play well in it?
Yeah.
Australia plays well in a game. Only need 1 bite. Now they failed in the first bite.
Yeah,
2 bites of the cherry to play well. England is just, you know, England's just doing who will come off gear.
Yeah.
Who's going to come off?
Yeah, we'll just pick.
So someone will come off.
Pick 11 match winners.
Yeah, just you know, again, it's just this contrast of style stuff we're going to have to get back into the rhythm of. Like England, just emotion, energy, romance, maverick behaviour, you know, waves and moments. They want to catch you in a tidal rip. Your arms and legs are everywhere in the whitewash. Where are my arms? Where are my legs? Oh, is there a rock there? Bang. Gone. Body, that is.
What was that?
That was hitting the rock.
Oh.
Yeah. Or just getting caught in a rip in front of a girl. He's 13 years old. Oh, I can't swim.
Yeah.
You know? That's England.
My first kiss.
And then I have my first kiss. Australia's been all about nerve and composure. Staying calm in the rip. Don't scramble in the rip.
Yeah.
Wait for the rip to make the mistake. Wait for the rip to pop one up. Long leg. You know, and then you'll get your first kiss.
You got to swim sideways.
Your first kiss of the urn, which is fragile.
Nice. I like that.
Which England won't give it to us because it was a gift.
Doesn't a big part of you just want England to just get fucking smashed in one game?
Of course, mate.
And I don't mean that. I don't mean that necessarily from the parochial, like, you know, Australia's the best country because it's where I was born. That kind of gear, you know. Like, obviously, I want my team to win, but like, doesn't a part of you just want the fucking ball don't lie ethos to just carry on here? Just like Moeen Ali at 3, they don't have a spinner. He's out of retirement. Their captain's on one leg. Their bowling attack's the oldest it's ever been in history.
This is wrong. This goes against
doesn't
everything
make any
we were
sense.
taught.
Opening batter averaging 28. Like, how can this be the best team? And then it's also, you said this before, and it's quite right. Like, every time we go there, it's like, well, who's the best cricket team? And then they come here, and it's like, oh, this is a fucking under sevens?
Yeah. Yeah, man.
So that feels unfair. Everything feels unfair to me.
The whole thing is a referendum on the truth of cricket because, you know, if England goes and gets it done with Moeen Ali at 3 and Jimmy's just there because that's his end and he's 41
so
next week.
What's the truth?
Well, that
becomes the truth.
starts to become the truth. That's when, you know, and that's why this is a great series. You have to be open to the fact that that's the truth. Okay, yeah, you can say, all right, they'll have an open top bus parade, DVDs, figurines of players now in toy stores, and they can't give us a game here. You can say that, but that'll just be licks that need to be taken.
Yeah, the series don't count here.
All of that kind of shit.
Nothing about that series was professional. I completely agree with you.
That's part of the fear. You know, we're going to talk to Alex Malcolm later about the socio-cultural fears of getting hit through cover on the up.
Yeah.
You know, but there's a lot of our like homespun truths that are at stake, you know, in the next couple of test matches. A lot of things we're going to have to look inwardly, introspect deeply if this Bazball vibe overcomes our calm, methodical, discipline-driven cricket, you know. The tortoise to the hare, I keep saying it. Like there's a lot, you know, leaving the ball outside off stump, not walking a bloke, staying still at the crease, keeping the ball on the ground, you know, getting a start and going on with it, doubling up. All these things that are part of our truths of life. You know, England exported this game to the colonies to teach us civility. Yeah. All of a sudden, the MCC members are abusing the Muslim-born Pakistani wanting to fight us.
Well, that was just coincidence.
That's true.
Yeah.
They want you know, egg and bacons want to fight us, and you're allowed to walk at blokes now. What? This is what's so discombobulating about the whole thing. And so when you talk about smashing, so you talk about smashing them, it's like just I want to smash them because I just don't want my world to erupt.
Yeah. That's right.
But I'm going to have to take an all-time lick if the world erupts, and there's a chance.
I don't need.
And that's funny too. And there's clicks in it.
I don't need to have my entire self, like I don't need this entire like introspection moment from watching a cricket match, like having like this some sort of epiphany,
mate.
Like oh, everything that I was taught was a lie. That wasn't my real dad,
mate. Counsellors are fucking crossing fingers because there's a huge boon to the industry in Australia. If Crawley hitting balls on the up's going to bring back the Ashes,
you know what I'm saying? That's the best team ever.
Yeah, Duckett ain't leaving one. And that gets the earn.
You don't need to know where your off stump is as an opening batter in England.
Mark Wood faces 6 to 8 balls and changes the game with the bat. That stuff is that changes. That we have to relook at everything that we thought was true in life.
So that'd be the scariest thing of all.
That's right.
If that comes to pass,
it's great. I mean, Brendan McCullum is Don Quixote. Now, a lot of people, if you read Don Quixote, you know,
that's different than Donkey Kong, isn't it?
No, it's not actually. Donkey Kong is based on Don Quixote.
It's Nintendo.
Don Quixote was you know, this is Man of La Mancha stuff. He's, you know, reach the unreachable star. Like, do the thing that no one's able to do. Follow your own star. At the end of the day, Don Quixote was fucking insane.
Yeah.
Right? And this is the thing, Brendan McCullum, he's putting his balls to the wall, literally sticky taping them to the wall, and he's just saying, does this work? Do truths need to be upended?
Right.
It's very, very high stakes, not to be confused with Ben Stokes.
You talking about Ben Stokes or talking about high stakes?
It's very, very Ben Stokes.
Are you talking about like eating meat when you're high on marijuana?
Well, we'll talk about Zampa later, yeah. 20th of April.
Because you know, like something that hasn't really been spoken about is it's just sort of just openly accepted now that you can just make the wicket that you want. Like you can just it is doctoring in its own way, but like this has to work on these fucking feather beds. Now, to be fair, the wicket in the last Test match was a good wicket, and England won that game. So I'm not sure what that means, but the whole premise of like just absolute fucking like no real pace in it, but just soft feather beds where nothing happens.
No sideways, nothing goes except when England's bowling.
So is that good? Am I just being bitter, angry Australian?
I think excuses in. We're both. I mean, that's a character I play. It's not actually me. But
okay,
yeah, like this like McCullum for me. McCullum's like McCullum and Stokes in the next 10 days, 12 days are either going to prove themselves like revolutionary or insane. And there's no in between. No, there won't be in between in terms of public discourse. Are they going to revolutionise the game? Are there going to be reports back in Australia, Argus reviews, that kind of stuff? It'll be called the Bairstow Review because he'll score 100. There's no doubt about that if they win. Or is Bazball a castle built on sand? And then as soon as it loses it, they make a couple of mistakes in a session, just sort of has bowls well, and then we just gloat for 4 years. Just
winning a toss would be good. Just
toss would be handy.
Just winning a toss and then just getting the better the conditions.
That's
maybe.
Not happening anymore. Don't you get that vibe? Like that we have to. I mean, I'm just hoping against hope, like that conditions balance themselves out. That's just not the vibe of this series. The vibe is everything comes up England and they find that funny.
Okay.
That's literally the energy of this series.
4 years ago, Pez, you'll recall that Australia lost at Headingley in remarkable circumstances due to their number 6 batter, High Stokes.
High Stokes.
Anyway, and then the team then had to watch that final hour in the hotel room the next day or a short time after that test match. Now, they haven't done that this time. Now, what happened 4 years ago, they watched that and then they absolutely fucking belted England at Old Trafford thanks to a Steve Smith double century. Some other guys did some stuff and they won the game.
That's true, yeah.
But this time, they haven't watched the final hour, even though they lost in semi-similar circumstances, that being just a run chase. So, I mean, is that the right mentality to be going into this? So they haven't been put through the pain, the ringer?
Well, I did note Justin Langer, also congratulations to him as the new coach of the Lucknow Super Giants in the IPL.
Yep.
Anyway, I did note that he made a comment, not just with the MCC committee saying ODIs that have to go, but the other one saying that he didn't really rate that, these are my words on his, but I didn't really rate that they were going on a break and there should be a game.
Yes.
So, because that's the other thing they did in a break in the Ashes as well. They went and like pumped Derbyshire or some shit, and guys got some rhythm in the middle or some shit like that. They played some more cricket.
I think guys should play more cricket.
Yeah. So
that is one thing that's true.
And these will all be things that we can point to should Australia lose. But if they win,
wouldn't have done JL
exactly. And if they win, we'll also say that the new approach has paid dividends.
Okay. Yeah. There's a lot to play for in this fourth test match.
Oh, it is. The Stokes couldn't be higher.
Gary Stokes.
Matthew Stokes, Geelong.
You would have seen some commentary from the Australian, because you know how like when England picked the team like a month and a half out, and like when you open up on your social media apps and like, you know, BBC would have reported or something, you see like that graphic with the 1 to 11, and then I think like, is the game starting like this time was earlier than the last time because they'd done it like one day before, but this time I was like I got thrown off again. It's like this game about to start anyway. So that team's very settled in that like they've already picked the team apparently. Wonder how hard and fast that is. Like if like they turn up in the anyway, whatever. So there's more conversations around the Australian team, and you would have seen Marcus Harris has basically said like not really expecting to play. You would have seen Cam Green has said like, no, opening the batting, no, I don't really want to do that. So I think we're getting clues there anyway. Now, like last week, I was trying to fit as many strikers into my FIFA side as
Adelaide
possible.
strikers.
Adelaide strikers as possible.
Yeah.
And can Siddle play? Wes Agar. Phil Salt played for them, I think, for a bit.
Yeah,
anyway.
that's right. Just, Brisbane strikers as well.
Just naming guys I know.
Royce.
But then I saw a graphic of Ricky Ponting's 11, and it was just the most sensible thing. I was like, oh yeah, well that's the team. So it kind of like diminished the fantasy of like what could have been, you know.
That's the other thing Bazball's done. It's like, I catch myself now in all my predictions like saying the groupthink establishment line as well, and I don't know if that's because people on Twitter irritate me, and it's like, listen, I'm going to basically contort the side of my face to almost look like I've had a stroke or Bell's palsy, or that I'm trying to stop flies from going into my mouth as a farmer out in central New South Wales.
That's how you do it.
Yeah. Just to let people know that I know exactly what's going on in cricket. This is what you'd actually do.
Yes.
And then I catch myself going, oh, wow, like, it's like, again, like Bazballer's bum stuff, Australian, like Cummins tactics as missionary.
Right.
Like, is Australia's, almost being like overly sensible in the face of this like cavalier attitude to cricket. Like, do you enjoy being sensible in that situation? Like, are you finding yourself looking at like a Ponting lineup or an Australian cricket team press conference going like, look, we'd like to play spinner, and the senior guys going like, listen, Davey's a good bat, and look, we'll probably play Hoff, and just all the most sensible, like conservative, traditional things you do. Like, are you leaning into traditionalism, like, or are you kind of like, I wouldn't mind a little fling myself, or like a little kink. Does Australia need to bring some kink to their cricket?
A little bit, in the same way that you might be the same as me, in that I like to watch my team bowl, because I like to watch, I like to see wickets more than I like to see bulk runs. Yeah, no, like obviously
I'm still a kid like that. I just want I want hundreds. I just want to see big guys score hundreds.
No, I like when the Australian team has the new ball in their hand and it's in England, and like you just suspect that a wicket's going to happen because then I know that it's going to happen.
Oh, in England, I don't want to go near a stick in England. Yeah,
absolutely no interest. So anyway, I should say what Ponting's team was, and it was Warner, Khawaja, Marner, Smith, Head, Marsh, Carey, Stark, Cummins, Murphy, Hazelwood. It's like, well,
I suppose the only more sensible team would be like Green, in the not sensible, but in like, no, I live for incumbency. You know what I mean? Like, I live for Australia's formation. I want 3 quicks and a spinner, meat and 3 veg. Right. But reverse.
Yeah.
And I want the same top 6 that I'm used to having when they're all fit. And I want my wicket keeper at number 7. It's fucking missionary, it's athletic, and it does the job.
Yep. Because we grew up in the era where the team was the team.
Yes.
And India had that as well with their batters. When they had like
Sehwag, Ganguly, Dravid, Laxman, Tendulkar. I think. Dhoni.
Do they ever play together ever? No, yeah. So
I think that's still the team.
Yes. Depends who you believe.
Is that like an Elvis is dead, not dead thing?
I think so.
They're still playing. Yeah.
No, they're still in it. Like when I know who's going to play, that makes me it does feel with some sort of safety. But then you also want like a new carry, like Nisi hit 176 against the under 15s the other day, like. So there's that as well, something to think about.
More Nisa drive-bys. What about England though? Like, do you like it? I
like it. Mate, for me, I like Moeen Ali at 3. Yeah, as an Australian.
Yeah.
Yes. In the same way that if I put my team on the internet and I say Warner, they'd be like, "Oh, you're picking Warner? Thank you very much." That kind of stuff.
But he can have more impact at 3 than 7.
Keep picking our bunny. Because Moeen Ali said that, I said to Ben, I said to Stacey that I want to be at him. I want to have a go at him, have a crack at these blokes. It's just this whole pantomime is really going even harder to the bit. Do I like the England team? Anderson's an interesting one because he hasn't bowled very well at all. Now he's been playing on some pretty tough wickets, which to be fair, but he's always done well he did well when he played in Pakistan. Yeah. He just hasn't played well, and he's also allowed to not play that well for a couple of Test matches when he's 50.
Oh, the recency bias in the whole series is just incredible. It's just what happens in the last game is just going to happen again. Like there's just zero. Like Anderson bowled poorly. He dragged the chain for England in the first 2 games on really slow wickets.
Yeah,
but like. You're not going to find me going like, big mistake there. Like I'm going to write Jimmy Anderson off on his home ground when it's meant to be fucking raining all week.
This could be his last Test match.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, thank you.
He's got a pretty good record. Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You picked Jimmy, did you? And not Josh Tong.
Yeah.
He bowled well. Josh Tong. He bowled well. Do you like England otherwise?
I do like England's team otherwise. Yeah. I think about it. Yeah, I mean the lack of spinner really is it messes the balance of the side, and also Stokes not being able to bowl really. But I'm looking at their players and I'm like, can that team take 20 wickets? Yeah. Can I see some runs there? Yeah, I can see enough runs there.
I see vibes and waves and momentum.
I think it's gonna be another good game.
But
at the same time, like just if Australia win tossing and just conditions, and it's like a bit of over. Yeah, so it is supposed to rain like all week.
Yeah.
So
you're not looking at like sort of just days of sun, except for when England bats.
Yeah, of course.
And flat decks. Well, I don't know. I find myself thinking once I get into that mindset of thinking of like, well, if we can just win a toss, and and Marnus is due, like DUE, and if we'll come to that later, but and Smith's only averaging 30. Like, he's probably ready again with his sort of statistics in England, right. And Warner has to fire a shot here, and Broad can't bowl well all the time, and Wood has to have the perfect conditions. And it was like in sport, I find when you start figuring out how you're going to win, and you're squinting one eye or looking at the magic 3D puzzle, going, if this just happens and this happens and this happens, then we can actually get over the line. That's when you're in trouble a little bit. I just want hundreds and conditions. That's it. And I want England to be a castle built on sand, even though they're clearly not.
Have they since since this era of this management style and playing style, have they played on a seaming wicket? I mean, they must have done it somewhere, but I can't think where. I mean, they have lost game. I mean, Sri Lanka, South Africa beat them at Lords, but I don't recall that wicket being particularly difficult to play on.
Yeah, I don't remember the wickets of all their
No. I was
sure
asking very specific questions, but
I'm sure in England there was a couple.
Yeah, I suppose so. But are you saying do you worry that Australia have had to play so well in the 2 games that they've won so far that they will be unable to maintain that consistency of high performance?
What I'm saying, to be specific, I probably should speak properly on a broadcast, but I have a fantasy about Australia playing about Australia playing an Australian type game where it's win the toss, bat, bulk runs, put pressure on this insane style, and let's all laugh as it crumbles around us.
Yeah, okay,
Except that's a fantasy because England, being the home team, is very adept and intelligent enough to confect conditions, and I don't mean it in any kind of nefarious or corrupt way. It's just how this is the pleasure that you get playing at home. They are able to concoct conditions that suit their players, and they are pretty skilled now at developing that kind of frenetic energy around a game that invariably means we will be subjected to days and days of the match swinging wildly and rapidly while England continue to put pressure on us and themselves with the way they play.
Right.
And so I'm just gearing myself up emotionally and mentally to deal with that pendulum swing. Whereas when Australia is playing good cricket, they basically are in charge of the game from the start and treating the opposition like a mouse that has been toyed with by a cat.
Yep.
I want my big famous players to score big famous runs and then the bowlers to go to work. And it's not 2004 anymore. I actually saw highlights. It was a bit of a YouTube dead scroll. It kind of went on to the next video. I was watching. We'll talk about the women's Ashes later in the show, but the next one was the partnership between McGrath and Gillespie, and there was a 6-minute Cricket Australia bit about it. McGrath and Gillespie against New Zealand.
Oh yeah, when McGrath got a 50.
McGrath got 61.
Right.
Red.
Yeah.
And was it red? And
I think it was. Yeah.
And Gillespie made 50 and did his Happy Gilmore dance.
Yes.
And New Zealand, the guys bowling to them at the end. Australia's 440 or New Zealand made 350, and it was it's just medium paces, and Chris Cairns was old, and it looked so slow.
Yeah.
And they're
McMillan.
And they're the Aussies in the Gabba box, laughing,
just hosing themselves.
Hosing themselves at it. A lot of them were downstairs to start with, and they went back upstairs as they worked into their partnership.
Yeah.
And just the camera's panning to them after every boundary where they're just cacking up.
Never seen anything funnier.
They go to lunch. And McGrath and Gillespie are still in. Australia haven't declared. And Ian Healy with Channel 9 goes in to interview them at lunchtime. And they're all just pissing themselves laughing.
Yeah.
And McGrath's going just another day at the office, leaning on his bat. And I'm that was just Australia used to render the opposition hapless. It was just, and I was I remember that. Part of that just sticks with me. That's what cricket. That's what we were raised upon. It was just a bloodbath for every opposition. And McGrath and Gillespie are joking at lunchtime. They're still in, they walk back out to bat, and then they go and get their 50s.
Right.
And I was that part of that stays with you and informs the difficulty of watching this stuff now. I mean, it's it's nearly 20 years on. It's it's 19 years on from that.
Right.
And like,
never forget.
And now it's like we're just watching this wild pendulum swing down. Australia's caught in the rip of it.
Yep.
And I'm like, can we just have a good day at the office?
Yeah.
Just a good day.
Just a good day at the office.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
One thing I do fear is that if Australia don't win this time in England, like you think about what the team will be like in 4 years' time and what Test cricket will be in 4 years' time, and just like the pathways.
It's the last series.
The pathways to it. I just like. The next Australian team that comes to England in 4 years' time won't be as good as this team. And like you look at this team, it's like it's okay. I know it's just won the World Test Championship. It's probably been the best Test team in the world, except for New Zealand, for a couple of years. I've had a really all the bowlers have got more than 300 wickets or whatever. All the guys have got all the runs. We've got one of the greatest all time batting at 4. Khawaja, Warner,
it's enough.
This team's a very, very good team, and if this one doesn't win again in England against like what they've played 4 years ago after England won the World Cup and they're all partying still, and then this time with like a team that we just absolutely fucking smashed 4-0, a couple of years ago, and it doesn't happen. It's like, when's it ever going to happen?
Yeah,
and I include that in like this England team won't win in Australia. I mean, like, I'm sure they'll be more competitive under this style, maybe. But, like, there's no record of them or suggestions that they will have more ability to win 3 games in Australia. So, Australia need to win this game to keep Test cricket alive.
It's the closest we've ever come to regaining the feeling of 2004.
Yes.
Of that shit.
Yes.
Like the Neely team is just so true. It's just a couple of England fuck ups away, and I don't know how to speak this cliche. Somebody has to stand up. I mean,
do you think
someone has to do something?
Mate, do you think someone's got to grab this game by the scruff of its neck?
That's right. And I don't know how you do that when you're standing there at the top of your mark bowling. It's like, all right, well, here's the game. I'm grabbing it by the scruff of the neck.
I have to throttle Murray Erasmus.
Yeah, it's yeah, but is sport good?
But listen to us talk. It's fear.
Yeah.
We're fear. Fear governs everything.
Yeah,
because I'll be more upset if we lose than I'll be happy if we win. I think.
This will be worse than 2019.
Yeah,
this will be worse because in about 6 months' time, it's going to be like, Crawley averaged 30.
Yeah.
Fucking
Bairstow can't catch.
Bairstow can't catch. Fucking Moeen Ali's batting 3.
Yeah.
Jimmy's 41, but you know.
Yeah. Yeah, but Duckett scored a couple. Who the fuck's that?
I mean, that's the other thing. Like, I mean, in 6 months' time, I guess the next big thing coming up in Australian cricket is Warner's book. So
yeah, that is going to be the highlight of the summer.
There's World Cup in that, but
whatever.
Yeah, like the thing is, if Warner, because Warner wants to play the World Cup, and then he wants to play the T20 World Cup in America, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he's talking about Test. Oh, you're talking about just for Australia?
I'm just talking about when's the book coming out.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Because when the book comes out, we can actually draw a line under this team. We can find out who knew what. Probably everyone.
Yeah.
Everything gets recalibrated, and
MS Dhoni, Ganguly, Tendulkar, Laxman, Dravid.
That's right.
Sehwag.
But once the book comes out, we can draw a line under it, and then it can be like, can Henry Hunt, score runs?
Yep. Is Renshaw the answer for the off spinner?
That's right. Ken Renshaw bowl. Can he play the Joe Root role?
All right, should we talk to Alex Malcolm?
More seriously?
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the actual cricket.
And we'll find out what's happening in the actual cricket and how guys have gone about things. Before that, we need to thank our friends at Budgy Smuggler. I said at the top of the show that it is very much summer being here season. And it means party shirts. It means no hat, no play kind of weather. It means skies out, thighs out stuff. Budgysmuggler.com or budgysmuggler.com.au. Use the code goodareas at checkout for free shipping. Budgysmuggler.com.au. And Pez, this interview is brought to you by our dear friend Shane Watson, winning the inner battle at shanewatson.au. That's shanewatson.au, where you can buy Winning the Inner Battle. You can buy it on paperback, audiobook, or even ebook. And also you can buy it from anywhere in the world. Great names on the cover, makes you feel safe. Lee, Ponting, Duplessis. Ponting says, train your skills, train your body, and now it's time to train your mind. That's from the great man Ricky Ponting himself. That's shanewatson.au winning the inner battle. All right, here he is right now, Alex Malcolm.
All right, we've got Alex Malcolm here from Cricinfo. Look, I figure there's been too much emotion in this series. There's not enough snuff cricket talk. I'm not saying that you're just pure snuff, but I think it's time that we, open the doors to the tactical and strategic side of things for maybe 1 minute before we get back into the emotional stuff.
We thought, who's into snuff?
Exactly. And snuff films.
But, helps that I'm 300 metres down the road.
Quiet. But, from like a technical, tactical, strategic perspective in relation to these Ashes, Alex, like what's been the most interesting part of the series for you? Like I'm talking cricket snuff. I'm the bloke in the back corner after the day's play at the club talking about cricket still, and none of the older blokes want to talk to me. They're judging me for still talking cricket. They want to be talking about women and group sex and drugs. But you're still talking about cricket. So we all know this person. What is the most interesting part of this Ashes series to you?
You say you all know this person. My former clubmates are laughing right now at how painfully true that was in reference to me. I was the bloke at the back of the bar talking cricket with a couple of other mates who.
Oh, look at you now.
Who are still on WhatsApp talking about this series in depth, like we all are. I actually think tactically it has been interesting, and you guys have broken it down really well, actually, in all of the stuff that you've done. I actually think the different mental approaches is probably the most interesting part of this series. And my colleague Vish Ahantaraja has written a really great piece about the differences between Zach Crawley and David Warner across the course of this series. Now, if you look at their numbers, they're actually not that far apart. Crawley's averaging 32. He's made 1/2 century. He's made one more start than David. David's made 1/2 century of 37 and 25 and 3 single-figure scores. But Warner's basically fighting for his place, fighting for his cricket survival, and Crawley's being pumped up in his rooms like he's Sir Donald Bradman. And I think that at the crux of it is Bazball. I think, and again, one of my colleagues, Andrew Miller, has been at the forefront of sort of analysing Bazball, and he was the one who coined the phrase in the first place. But he gets.
How does he feel about that, by the way? Just a little parenthesis.
He gets frustrated that, and this is the point I was going to make, is he gets frustrated that it's sort of been confected into this style of cricket as opposed to it's a philosophy and a mindset of be free, believe and trust in your own ability, and play the way you want to play. People think it's a gun-ho, balls to the wall, attack at all costs game style. In actual fact, the core principle of what, and the information that's coming out of that England dressing room is that you be free in the mind, don't fear failure, approach the game with complete freedom and no doubt in your own ability, and just play the way you want to play and trust the skills that you have will hold you in good stead. And that's what this England group has been able to do with a group of players that, if you actually go down the list, and even the most rusted on England fan would probably admit that pound for pound, stat line to stat line, Australia has a better team, a deeper team across the board. But England have been able to compete and then some, and they could be 2-1 up in the series with a side that's got a test match opener who averages 28, and he actually averages 30 in first-class cricket. They've now got a guy who's come out of retirement who's going to bat at 3, and they've got a wicketkeeper who's struggling with his glove work. They've just got a sort of mesh of players that they've managed to put out as an 11, and they sort of wheel in different pieces here and there. Australia's a pretty settled lineup with an all-world pace attack and some really high-class batters, and yet it's neck and neck. It's incredible how the mindsets of the two teams has sort of produced this amazing battle, not to mention the tactical side, which I think you analysed quite well with Chris Rogers last week.
Okay, just to pick up on that, you're really interested in like the mental contrast between both teams. The stat lines are really different. Australia's this great side. David Warner's a great of the game. Okay, he's struggled in England. I think that's fair to say. And then England has an opening bat who averages 30, but everyone tells him he's Sir Donald and he swings from the hip. balls on the up from ball one? Like, has it caused you to rethink everything that you're a grizzled grade cricketer? Has it caused you to rethink everything that you know about the game? Because if Crawley's batting, swinging outside the sixth stump from ball one, and England's competing and they're a chance of doing the business against us, and they've got a bloke who's batting 3 who hasn't played there for 4 years, and his finger doesn't work, like, doesn't that kind of mean that way of approaching the game has some merit to it?
It has, and that's really worrying. Deeply worrying.
as in
I wasted 13 years of my life. Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. And I think back to the caliber of coaches I had. I was very lucky to have a handful of guys, more than 3 or 4 guys who'd played international cricket and have some sessions with them and learn batting off those guys. Now, they didn't help me get anywhere, so that's a failure on those blokes. But and I won't mention any names, but you can probably guess, given West Australia's quite small in terms of its cohort of
I don't
great
know
cricketers.
any sort of senior leaders at Western Australia.
But yeah, I mean, all of the instruction was, you never drive on the up, particularly playing at the whacker. Like, that extra bounce, it's just, you got to play vertical bat, play under your eyes, wait for cut shots and cross bat shots, pick and choose, wait for your time. All of those things were play the ball late. They were all instructions that were drilled in, and you'd cop a pasting if you tried to drive on the up early in the first 10 overs of a grade game, nick one off. Like, honestly, you'd get hammered.
You're ostracised not just from your team, but possibly your community and your family.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, sent to a detention centre.
That's right. I mean, talk fair of failure. I mean, you actually fail with your social bonds, in life.
If you failed as a human. As a human, your life is worthless if you play that shot.
Well, I'd like to send dirt against our boys too. To that end, Australia's lost one game. They could have lost all 3 games, really, but they lost one game. But and I suppose there's been sort of what 8 or 9 days between the test matches, so we need things to talk about. And Dave Warner's form is a justifiable conversation. But I think there's a bit of a problem. So I suspect he'll play this game. And then if he fails again, then you've got one game, and then you got to change the team around, or you got to bring someone in for one game. I'm almost thinking I think you just have to give him both. I think that's a justifiable thing, and then if that doesn't work out, then you make a change in the summer. But it's now got too deep into the series, and he achieved something. He got 66 in the Lord's Test match a week and a half ago, so he has done something recently. He has contributed, but if he doesn't do it this game, to change it for the last Test match as well, just seems really, that seems even more disruptive. It seems even higher risk, higher stakes. So can you see him actually playing both games regardless?
I think you're 100% right. And I think they're thinking that way. And I think they made that decision after Lords. They hadn't named the squad beyond the second Test match. And I think they were literally waiting to Lords to see how he went across those first 3 games, if you include the WTC final, where he actually played really well. And he did enough. He made a contribution in the WTC final in tough batting conditions. Got an important 30-odd in the second dig at Edgbaston. And then he and Khawaja produced, for the first time in 5 years, 2 half-century opening stands for Australia. It hadn't happened in 5 years, which is incredible. So they made that call, and I think they have to commit. And you're right, Marcus Harris is there, but he has not played a game since May. He was given the option, actually, to play a county championship game just recently for Gloucestershire during this break, which is what Michael Neser took up for Glamorgan. He decided to go on a golf trip with Mitch Marsh and Josh Hazelwood and Dan Vittori up to Scotland. So it'd be a big risk to bring him in for one game, having not got into the rhythm and the pace of the series, which is moving at a rapid rate. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think Warner is set for these last 4 games. They're going to back him in, as they have done for so long, and they're just going to decide and hope that he finds a way through Stuart Broad and can contribute and get Australia off to good starts, which is what they did at Lords, and it set them up for victory there.
So he did well in the WTC final. He did well at Lords. I think that was an underrated knock that also paved the way for Smith to bat well too, I think. But did you notice anything different in his setup for those games? And I noticed Mike Atherton has noted that he looked different at Leeds, that he'd tinkered again. He's improved from 2019, and now he's do you think he's looking a bit different technically speaking? I'm getting to snuff areas, and has it also been considered? I'm not sure if it's been said that he may get through Broad, but he had massive problems against Mark Wood in the Ashes last time. I noticed, I'm just throwing a few things at you, like Brad Haddon in a preview recently on Fox Sports said, he wants to see Warner just go all out aggressive and he doesn't want him nicking off. Do you think all those ingredients into the pot is going to lead to an aggressive David Warner this test?
I don't know. I have noticed, and I did receive a little bit of information during the IPL that he had made a shift. You would have seen there's a little pre-movement, a trigger with both feet going back and across, which is not something he's done at his best during his career. He's been very still at the crease and often tapping his bat and being someone who just reacts because his skills are so good. He has incredible hand-eye that he can move late, and that's when he's played at his best. And when he was working with Ricky Ponting and Shane Watson at Delhi, you remember, you guys covered the IPL closely. You remember he had a tough start to the IPL where he was scoring runs, but scoring very slowly. I think he struck at 116 or something through the first 3 or 4 games.
A lot of other blokes getting out, but yeah.
Yes, and the wickets were a little bit difficult at times, but they made a shift with him back to an old setup at a training session in Bangalore, and then he went on a tear and actually struck at 145 plus for the rest of the tournament. I felt like, I could be wrong, but I felt like he took that into the World Test Championship final, and that's where he looked really good against India's quicks. But then for whatever reason, Broad around the wicket, he clearly has a concern about getting beaten on the inside, and maybe that's causing the back and across movement to try and take LBW out of play. If he bats, again, we're getting a real deep territory. I don't know for a fact, but he's always looked like he's been someone who's liked to set up leg side.
Yes, he likes to be leg side of the
which, when you set up leg side, you bring in LBW into play. If you think about where your front pad goes to when you're driving, if you are setting up on middle and off, if you get your front pad to a ball that's coming in from wide of the crease around the wicket, a right armour, you're actually going to get your front pad outside the line, which is what Ben Stokes did when he walked at Boland in the first innings at Headingley, and got outside the line by 1.5 millimetres. But not that anyone's worried about that. So that back and across movement has, unfortunately, what that does is, for anyone who talks to elite batters, it can change where you think your off stump is with where your head moves to.
It also opens up your body as well, so that then your front leg has to come across a lot more.
He's getting a little bit more chest on, and we saw when he nicked off in the second innings, he was playing across the line and to a ball that, when David's at his best, he's normally probably hitting that ball through mid-off, wide of mid-off. He plays a little bit squarer than most other guys, plays a bit squarer than Usman does to those lines because he's not as chest on. So they're little things that I'm certain he's working with Michael DiVenuto and Andrew McDonald about this. It's clearly got to a stage where it's in his head and he's probably second-guessing himself.
It's a credit to Broad, though, as well, isn't it? Like Buck was talking about this last week, his ability to present the seam a certain way, move it away from you, and that same ball can nip back in and hit you. I mean, sometimes when you're watching Broad to Warner, you just like, he's going to do him outside or inside. It's very difficult to see, which kind of leads you to the conclusion of, like, Warner must play a shot. I mean, figuratively speaking. Particularly if... my concern about Warner as well, I'd pick him too for the reasons you guys said. But, I thought he really struggled against Mark Wood 2 years ago about that searing pace, and Mo Siraj did the same thing to him in India. He's gonna need to get his runs quickly and to push back on these guys. I'm just not sure how he's going to be able to see them off, but, I played twos.
Yeah, so did I. But he has played well against Wood in the past. Going back to 2015, which is when he had his best tour of England, made 50 in each of the 5 Test matches there. So he does have that in the back of his mind. He did play well at the start of the last series. Wood didn't really wind up until Melbourne, did he? When the pitches started to get a bit juicier as well. But it's a big challenge. I mean, they're just backing him. He's got 9,000 test runs. He's such a great player. He's played 100 test matches. He knows what he's doing. I mean,
I think he'll score 100.
He got 200 against Norkia. That's the fastest bowling I've ever seen.
Yeah, but remember, that doesn't count. No. Because it's a 200 amid other bad scores. So that's
and if he hadn't got that, imagine
if you take that out, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know if this is like getting into like too much back into the emotional side of things, which is where we all revel. But like, I just feel like every time Australia bat, it's the darkest I've ever seen. The guys are wearing 4 jumpers. I think I saw a guy wearing a beanie at one point. There's fingerless gloves on. It's like the ball is like this specific shade of maroon. Yeah. And then England.
You have to get chains on your tyres to come out because it's actually snowing. You can't climb up the mountain. You know what I mean?
It's like Marnus batting in Ugg boots.
Yeah, that's right. The snowboard.
And then England bat, and it's like, what a beautiful summer!
Yeah.
What a beautiful summer they're having. Like, but maybe that's too much. Maybe that's too emotive. But like that.
So when Maggie's trying to choose like the family to go to, like the Flanders of like, the rainbow and the sunshine in the lake, and there's the Simpsons, mud dripping off them. Yeah,
the ripped jeans.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But it like has that been the case? Do you reckon has it been maybe not as extreme as that? But I just feel like England. I mean, there's also seemed to be some suggestion last Test match that they played so quickly to then bowl when they want to bowl, which is a whole fucking other realm of like just backing the weather into when you're going to declare. But
or we've been grade cricketers as well, just going like, oh fuck, Penguins are against us. Yeah, everything's against us. Starting to pick out the things that are against us.
Have I gone too far with that?
No, it's felt that way. I mean, that's probably our Australian lens. Maybe they do have that, Monty Burns sunshade that's across. Maybe they've got that.
Wouldn't surprise me. MCC members.
Baz, our great overlord, has been managed to orchestrate the gods to get the clouds over. No, it's felt that way. It's definitely felt that way. I think the ball tracking data that you may have seen on the coverage has backed that up.
Right, okay.
That is the really interesting part about the tactical side of it, is how much Australia's third seamer has been nullified. It's been very unusual to see Scott Boland, who was easily Australia's best bowler in the World Test Championship final, how little he's been able to get out of these surfaces. The 2 surfaces, even Headingley, he bowled without luck at times. He beat the bat a lot. I think the over before Johnny Bairstow got out in the second innings, he had a French cut off the inside edge, just missed off stump, but he has not been able to own his own normal areas. And even on slow pitches, and you guys have seen it, and I've watched it at the Junction Oval and the MCG and Shield games, he can still find something from that 5.5, 6 metre length. One ball will leap, one will nip back, one will hold its line. He hasn't been able to find that, and that's been probably one of the frustrations for Australia. And it's looked like he's gone searching for extra stuff and has missed a lot straight, has missed middle of leg. I've never seen Scott Boland get glanced to fine leg for boundaries as often as he has in this series. Yeah. Maybe that is the pressure that the England guys are putting on him, and the bravery they're able to show. Now, it's easy to be brave when you know the ball's not going to move sideways, which, again, comes back to your point he goes about... wouldn't mind seeing how they go when it does move sideways, and we saw that for 20 minutes at Edgbaston, and they looked all over the place. And Mitch Marsh was able to actually. The funny part about Mitch Marsh's bowling at Headingley, and I thought he bowled beautifully, was that slight gear down in pace. He was at 130, which is where sort of Broad and Anderson probably Broad and Robinson have been operating at. He was actually able to get the ball to shape, whereas our guys are in the high 130s, low 140s, more hit the deck bowlers, and they haven't been able to swing the ball at all. Marsh gets a little bit of shape, and that's enough to nick off Crawley in both innings. So, again, they won't do it, but there might be a case for Anisa to come into the equation. But, I mean, if Marsh plays at Old Trafford, I thought he bowled really well and swung the ball. So there might be some value in that. But, yeah, I've been very surprised at how Australia's third seamer, and to a lesser degree Cummins at times, has been nullified because they haven't been able to extract enough movement.
Yeah.
I noted Tim Payne's comments a week or so ago about the team and Mark Wood. He was talking about how aware or conscious the Aussie team was of whether or not Mark Wood was going to play. And you imagine that... he'd be pretty clued in to what the team cares about, what matters to them. So can we conclude that Australia is under 12s and Mark Wood is the pubescent bearded man-child everyone's watching warm up on the side of the square, and now all we can do is hope that he like sprays them or gets tired or gets like, and that no one gets hurt or gets out?
Yeah, it looks like that. I mean, you know, we've all played against fast bowling, not 150 clicks. I don't think I've ever seen that. But
No way.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean,
I'll tell people that I face 150.
Yeah,
but I've probably at 136 max.
It just looks. It's a different gear. Obviously, you watch.
Well, I'll get on YouTube and I'll say, "Oh, that's fucking 80K." You know, like, that's.
Well, he shows you all the way.
Yeah.
You get a good look at it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
you can see it all the way.
Get a good look
Anything
at
that
it.
looks quick on YouTube as
Yeah,
well, I'll just say, "Oh, that's probably sort of 107." That's nothing. You just get forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely dropped from 150 plus in the first innings down to sort of 145, and there's no doubt. And again, my colleagues made some excellent points on our podcast, the Switch Hit, yesterday about. Sorry,
Just say it here. It's all good.
I'll try and
you
cut
guys have
it
that
out.
Disney marketing.
Mate.
You can push your own stuff.
made the point that the rain delay actually helped Wood recharge the batteries and gave him a little bit of extra rest.
Once again, conditions.
Conditions, yeah. Our
sundial.
guys, the Australian guys, I shouldn't say our guys because they're not our guys. The Australian guys are all good players at fast bowling, and I think they're all capable of facing and handling that kind of pace. I think the thing that Wood did in the first innings that made it incredibly hard was he actually swung the ball.
Yeah.
150 going straight. The guys aren't good enough to handle that. 150 moving sideways.
So our problem is we're sort of bowling like, 130s is the right pace to swing it. 140s is no good, but then if you get up to 150s and swing it again, that's when it swings. So 140s is the worst pace.
Yeah.
That's the only pace you can bowl in Australia if you want to get picked.
Well, look, it's no different to Stark. I mean, when he swung the ball, which he did to Pope at Lords, he got a couple to really veer back. Yeah, he's looked nasty, really nasty. So it's just, there's just moments in time when the bowler feels in the right rhythm, and as Wood said, he was charging down the hill. He had visions and feelings of Bob Willis at Headingley, and
he's barking like a dog 10 minutes before the game as well.
Weird, wasn't it?
That's awesome.
No,
I hate it because it's so funny.
It was high quality. It really was. Actually, the spell he bowled in the second innings, even though it was a little bit slower and he wasn't moving the ball as much, but in combination with Moeen Ali, I suspect that had a big part in why Moeen was able to extract both Labuschagne and Smith, because they felt pressure from the other end.
Just with Marnus, like there's nothing really, like he's not going to get dropped or anything, and his scores have been weirdly like in that sort of 20 to 40 bracket. So he's sort of like in this weird out of formness where if you make 30, you can make 100, but he hasn't made any scores above 50, right? It just there was that time when he scored 100 in Gaul against Sri Lanka. Then he went 200. He scored 400s in 3 tests against the West Indies and Sri Lanka in those tests. And then since then, nothing against South Africa, nothing in India, nothing in England so far. Look, hard places to play, obviously, but like I think Australia would have just wanted so much more out of him, And like I thought he actually played really well against Wood to see, especially that first spell.
He batted well.
In the first innings, and then Kawaja gets that last ball, that first spell at the end of his fourth over. But like there's like it's like this frustrating thing with Marnus, like it's almost there and he's got like some runs, then just like gets out sweeping in the third innings of this test match, and probably couldn't have foreseen that this was going to happen to Marnus, that he couldn't win a game yet for Australia. It's 3 tests of 5 series, but that frustration exists, doesn't it?
Can I add into that as well? Like I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, look, he's overthinking." How does anybody know what he's thinking unless they're literally talking to him about it? I find that a very strange piece of speculation to presume that somebody's mental processes. I mean, he obviously is an energetic, busy person, and I can just see people looking at that and lazily extending that to going, oh, well, he's thinking too much then. He needs to move his body less or something. But then the second question I have to you, just to add on to what Higgins said, is do you consider the fact that he seems to be making a lot of starts and getting out to be more concerning than somebody who just gets out for a low score? Because if you're a world-class bat and you get out for a low score, that can happen. But if you're making scores, getting to 20 to 40, it's not looking fluent, put it that way, and then you're eventually getting out, whether you're hanging your bat out, or playing a slog sweep that's not your shot. Is that more concerning?
I think Andrew McDonald said it would be more concerning if he was getting knocked over for nothing, which I think is the case with
fewer
Warner,
runs,
right? Yeah, and he is making contributions in terms of buying a little bit of time for Australia's middle order. And you look at the way Travis Head has played, and also Mitch Marsh played in that last game. That's important, and that's the philosophy that England have taken. I mean, without saying it, although Moeen did say it last night, he almost is a sacrificial lamb. That's the approach that they've taken to top order batting in England, which is the challenge of it. Back to Marnus, I don't think anyone could have realistically considered that if he'd gone all the way through India and all the way through 3 tests and the World Test Championship final in England and made 1 half century, that Australia would be competitive in any of those games.
Yeah.
And yet they have been. So, yeah, he's close. And you're right, that mindset thing is, to presume, is dangerous always. And that's just him, apparently, according to everybody that you speak to. That's him. That's what he's always like. They have had some worries in the past that perhaps he hasn't conserved his physical and mental energy all that well. That this did happen in Pakistan last year, put quite a bit of pressure on himself to perform well away from home and arguably hit too many balls. And that is a big thing that the guys talk about at that level. And if you read Shane Watson's book, he talked about his battles of making a lot of starts during the prime years of his Test career and getting out and not going on with it. And he put it down to burning a lot of mental and physical energy in the lead up, hitting a lot of balls, thinking a lot about his opponents, thinking a lot about the matchups, and not conserving his energy for the innings itself, and maintaining and conserving his energy throughout the innings as well, which is something that Usman Khawaja does really well, and that's why he's faced 3 times as many balls as anybody else in the series. So that is something that, Labuschagne will need to continue to evolve in his game so that he can become the consistent performer that he wants to be. But we all know, as Higgins mentioned, it's there. He's capable of doing it, but it just hasn't quite clicked for him this series.
What do you, let's put your Western Australian hat on here. Let's talk about
it was always on.
Let's talk about Marsh and Green. We all know what Cam Green is going to become. I think everyone in world cricket suggests that we're all across that. And he's really tall. I think it's it's just such a huge call to leave Marsh out, a guy who had every right to have won that game single-handedly for Australia, a couple of big wickets, Crawley, bowled nicely, but then that runnable 100 when Australia were 5 for spit, 4 for whatever they were. I think it's if Marsh didn't play and they picked Green, we all know what Green can do, but and Green doesn't perform, it's I should have picked Marsh. Now maybe you shouldn't care about what people think about selections, but I think somewhat unfortunately you have to pick the guy who scored a runnable 100 at 6 and took 2 for last Test. What do you reckon?
I think that's the way they're going to go, and that's all the indications are that's the way they're leaning. Andrew McGlashan wrote in again last night that Marsh was fielding in the gully during the slips catching practice. They had the normal stagger that they had with Marsh there, and Green was training with the reserve. So
right, okay,
that seems to be the way they're leaning. The 2 all-rounder thing never made any sense because England hasn't faced a second new ball yet in this series, so they barely need 1 all-rounder, let alone 2 to give the extra overs. And I think you're right. I think it's a case of a guy stepped in and performed better. It's a little bit like Scott Boland sort of edging out Hazelwood, even though Hazelwood was slightly underdone for the WTC final. It's a little bit like that, where and then the flow on from that was Edgbaston, where Mitchell Starc missed out because the guy was in form and he stayed in bowling. So I think it's a little bit of that. The one thing to remember, Marsh played superbly, and we know his best is absolutely phenomenal, and he is a different cricketer now than he was back when he was playing 2019 and before. But, if he'd been held at first slip on 12, we're probably not having this conversation.
Yeah.
And he has a body of work over a long period of time that suggests he can be pretty hot and cold.
Right.
Whereas even Green hasn't done much in this series, but even without doing much, he's still made pretty important contributions at times. So, and I think the break would have done Cam the world of good. I know I'm incredibly biased towards him, but we spoke about it last time I was here, with the fact that he had 10 days between his Mumbai qualifier final or whatever, flying home then to England before the first test. That was sort of no way to prepare for this kind of series with this kind of intensity and many test matches in a row. So I think the break would have done it so good. And I actually think watching Mitch go about his game and play with freedom and intent and a positive mindset would have helped Green. And even if he doesn't play, I think watching the rest of the series will help him in some way, shape or form. So I think you're right. I think either way it doesn't really matter, but you probably have to back the form horse.
Right, yeah.
More snuff stuff from me. So back in the corner, talking cricket, everyone else sort
That's
of
where I live.
shout, tubbing and getting their circuit kit on and judging each other's circuit kit, white wheels and that, and you're still in the corner talking. What's
With my polo on.
Yeah, that's with your club issued polo, training shorts still, or maybe some chinos, but the club polo's tucked in to the chinos with a belt. And you've got some R.M. Williams on, and because you've got to speak later.
Are you talking about other results?
How threes going. You're talking to some third grader, earnestly. Yeah, that's right.
You've nailed it.
Good. Yeah. So like that. Why are you crying?
It's so scary. It's funny. That's why I'm crying.
We've all been there. What do you think is if you could guess, and I know you probably think about these things, what is the number one issue in the war room, like the cricket snuff war room of McDonald, Divenuto, Vittori, Andy Flowers popping in and out, and Pat Cummins? What's their number one issue? And just to prompt something, Australia's, I heard Nathan Lyon talk about this the other day, it's clear to me that their overall strategy has been to play on England's ego, to be the tortoise to England's hair, to bowl short, wait till they get out. I just felt like England, solved a little bit of that in the last game. Do you think we're going to see anything different from Australia, or do you think that they will rely on that strategy for the final two tests and back themselves to jag one, if not two? Or do you think they need to do something different tactically?
I don't think they need to do anything different tactically. I think their number one issue is actually finishing off the innings with the ball. Mm-hmm. They've actually bowled well with that tortoise and hare strategy to the top order. If you go through the series, England were 5 for 175 and 6 for 190 at Edgbaston, and in the first innings they added 200 for the last 5 wickets. They doubled their score for the last 5 wickets in the second innings at Lords, and they were 5 for 85 in the first innings at Headingley and ended up making 230. Australia has not got the strategy right to England's lower order. Now, they've got it wrong with 3 worldies at the other end in terms of innings, from Root at Edgbaston in the first innings and Stokes twice. But they just haven't got the strategy right. I found the first innings at Headingley a complete head scratcher, and you'd like to think they would have reset after that, because they'd nicked the first 5 off, bowling and attacking off stump in conditions where finally the ball was actually zipping through. There was a bit of sideways. And then they bowled to Stokes and Moeen Ali aggressively with pretty normal fields and attacked off stump. And they bounced out Moeen without bowling a bounce review ball. It was a surprise tactic. It came out of nowhere, and that brought about the mistake. And then suddenly the switch was flicked and every ball was halfway down, and they gave up 150 runs, 90 runs in 10 overs. And that made no sense to me, why you would go from using the bouncer as a surprise tactic on a wicket that was aiding a bit of sideways and aiding attacking off stump to then bowling short and telegraphing to Mark Wood that every ball was going to be at his head with short boundaries, fine and square, and say, mate, if he gets a bat on, it's going for 6. Andrew McDonald said afterwards, look, in hindsight, it's a great strategy if it works, and it's not a great strategy if it doesn't. But I think you've got to put the probabilities in your favour. I don't see a problem with getting hit on the up through cover, but for some reason Australia has a fear of that in this series. I think if you're going to make England play these extraordinary cricket shots, make them play the really tough shots, which is hitting the ball on the up through cover, because they're not going to be able to do it 6 times out of 6. But we've seen in this series, everyone pitching halfway down can actually, well, on the better wickets, can disappear 6 out of 6. So I think that's their number one issue, is closing out those last 5 wickets, because if they'd done that at Headingley, the series would be over.
It's, I think you've nailed that in terms of the issue. I think it's really complex. They got Mark Wood out in 8 balls, bowling short. She said he made 24 runs. They might, and some people might say, if he gave Australia 8 balls before he knew what he did, they would probably take it. Michael Vaughan on the Fox Sports preview the other day said they should bomb them more. Now maybe Vaughan would say that. They didn't bomb Chris Wokes, who they got out bowling short to in the second innings. He was on 20 before they bowled a short ball to him. This is sometimes the alternative, like with anything in cricket. Always, it's classic grass is greener stuff. But that said, with Mark Wood in particular, who's had so many column inches now devoted to his batting, it is an interesting one, because he's been saying that all he's been practicing is short balls as well. But is that a double bluff? This is the issue of baseball. Is he now just getting throwdowns and just hitting down the ground on the ball machine? You know what I mean? He's just getting ball machine drives. Yeah. What's the socio-cultural feelings in Australia of getting hit on the up through cover? There's so many. It is more embarrassing for a quick to get hit on the up through cover than top edge 6. Because at least you're bumping them.
Yeah, but the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result. I mean, Pat Cummins is knocking over Joe Root with these balls that are climbing from a length. Joe Root's England's best player of all time. Like, why aren't you trying to bowl that area to everybody else? It will work eventually. That's the way I would go.
We're pitching up to Wood. We're bombing Wokes.
I think you're just bowling. I just think you're bowling good areas and using the short ball as a surprise tactic, as opposed to letting them camp there. And I think England have been sucked into it with Travis Head too. They're fearful of Head whacking them on the up through cover, and so they've decided we're just going to bomb Head exclusively, and that hasn't worked either, because Head's got himself to a place now where he's feeling more and more comfortable against it. He's getting into better positions. He's starting to nail that pull shot, which he wasn't earlier in the tour. But he's getting it telegraphed. He knows exactly where everything's going to be pitched. And I don't understand why you wouldn't plant the seed in the back of his mind, have the field set, but pitch up. And if you're going to get hit on the up through cover, so be it. That's a great shot.
That's the great question sitting underneath everything culturally, like the Anglo-sphere culture. Why are we so afraid of getting hit through cover? That's one for the academics to pick up.
That's some real snuff stuff.
It is. It's academic snuffery.
There's a 40,000 word thesis in that one.
That's right. Yeah. Why getting hit through cover is worse than anything.
I don't understand, but they will know. There's a reason, and maybe it could be condition based. It could come back to Higgins' point where the sun's out, the wickets have been very slow, apart from Headingley, and they just feel, look, we're not getting enough out of this ball moving sideways. The Duke's balls haven't been great either. Evidently, they've been better than last year, but these ones, how many times have they tried to? Both sides have tried to get them changed because it's just not doing anything, and the ball got changed in the the fourth innings at Headingley, and suddenly Australia was back in the game as soon as it started moving a little bit. So that's part of it too, I'm sure, and they would know that that's what they would be talking about in the war room. But yeah, it's curious, and I think a lot of people would be wondering why they'd be doing it. I'm sure they have their reasons.
You'd be the same as us, I'm sure. Like, as a man that works in cricket, like just getting messages from people that don't usually like cricket or have a sort of peripheral, viewpoint on cricket, or it's just on sometimes in the summer. And like, I was just watching the West Indies India game, and that was fucking devastating, because it's like, I mean, to have that performance at home. India have good players, of course they do, but like, what's going to come for Australia in the next 6 months after this series, which is like just such a gripping, engrossing series where people do care about it. And like, I think that's like really sad. Though hopefully the Big Bash is good this year.
BBL draft and that, don't forget that.
Yeah. Well, the lottery was yesterday.
Yeah, WBBL.
Melbourne Stars have got the first pick in the BBL, and
that's great.
Sydney Thunder in the WBBL. So.
I've had less texts about that, I'd say.
Yeah. So have I. Most of mine have been drop Warner.
That's right.
That's tended to be.
I have this kind of visceral dislike of David Warner that dates back sort of 10 to 12 years.
Yes.
And I believe he should be dropped. Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's a reason. I think it's a very reasonable argument that someone should come in for him.
I just had mates text me say sandpaper.
That's right.
Yeah, but getting those from England guys as well.
Yeah. I was just thinking about batches of balls as well. Like I, never played a season in England, but like at a grade level, there must be some serious snuff levels to people who can pick out the right ball. Because with the Duke's ball, you're meant to tell everyone every ball's different. You know what I mean? And you can, can you imagine people just picking up the balls and going, oh yeah, look, I like the color of that. Oh yeah, the seam of that. It's a whole economy.
You used to see with the kookaburra. It's like the kookaburra does fuck all anyway.
Exactly.
So like, some nothing in a box. It's like, no, I like this one. It's got a nice seam on it.
Yeah,
that's no difference.
You played in England. The club I played at when I played there actually had the option of using the Readers or the Dukes, and they actually made the change halfway through the season because I can't remember which one wasn't doing enough for us.
Yeah,
so we blamed the ball.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've really enjoyed the inside baseball snuff in the corner of the club after the game. You've got maybe a beer or a soft drink in hand.
Everyone's got the lights off.
Everyone's got the lights are off. A third, fourth grader's talking to the club skipper. That's you with your shirt tucked in, looking good. Maybe a sort of a snakeskin belt and tucked in. And R.M. Williams, and then the third grader or fourth grader is thinking, this is awesome at the start how the first grade captain was talking to me, and now I'm wondering if I can go out with the other guys and maybe try an ecstasy tablet for the first time.
Yeah. Also, he keeps calling me Matt. My name's Steve.
That's right, but he keeps looking me in the eye. I'm not used to the first graders looking me in the eye.
Yeah, when can I go to the hippie club?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I don't want to be first grade skipper after all. Or maybe I don't even want to play grade cricket if this is what it's going to be.
All my mates are at the Grippers.
The Grippers, yeah. With that in mind, mate, thanks so much for joining us. I've enjoyed the inside baseball chat. This is good.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much to Alex for coming in, despite being unwell.
In the head. With the head cold.
Despite being sick in the head. No, thank you.
Alex. Such a lovely person who gives so much. To us.
Indeed. But yeah, he was unwell, so thank you very much for him braving that. Now, the women's Ashes, Pez, it's not quite over, but Australia have retained the urn after winning the second ODI there in Southampton by 3 runs. Of course, that makes the score now 8-6. There's 1 to play in Taunton tonight. That's at 10 o'clock for Australians on the East Coast. So in this game in Southampton, Australia batted first, made 282 for 7. Elise Perry made 91. Annabelle Sutherland hit 50 at the end there. And Georgia Wareham coming in at 8 or 9, made 37 off 14. A crucial contribution. England finished 279 for 7. Nat Siver-Brunt hit 111. Tammy Beaumont hit 60. But player of the match was Alana King, who took 3 for 44, including an absolute fucking peach to bowl Beaumont. She took 3 wickets in 15 balls to bust the game open for Australia. Ash Gardner also took 3 for 54. She bowled the second last over, only conceding 6, meaning Jess Jonathan had 15 to defend in the final over, of which England hit 12, so finishing 3 runs short. England have pushed Australia all the way, no doubt. But Australia just have done enough to retain the Ashes, but that's clearly not enough. They'll need to win the Ashes. They'll need to win it tonight.
Is there some relief to you though, like a retention?
Some,
yeah.
There's enormous relief.
You know how quickly in Australia it turns though. Like if they merely retain it,
yeah.
It like as it did in 2019. Like those celebrations really with the men in 2019 when they won at Old Trafford were immense. They were so immense that I think it contributed to the loss of the Oval.
I think they stopped on day 3 at the Oval.
And I think the nation shared in that retention, the figurative, and this is the same with the women, like not the figurative, the literal holding of the urn or the replica.
Yes.
Like that there's a lot in that. Like that's enormous relief for me. But then such are the standards, the unrelenting, unyielding standards in Australia. Like if this ends 8-8, forget the holding of the urn. Or nothing but a win.
We'll need an Argos review.
Have they made it to Australia? I liked. No, I mean I'm deeply relieved. I have to say.
Yeah.
We're calling 16-0.
Yeah.
suppose.
I don't know where that comes from, where that kind of confidence and arrogance comes from.
That's right.
Hard to say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolute sweet relief. Because
the sweetest.
Because this was looking at like, you know, America's Cup, you know, 1988 for Australia, like just like America had never lost the America's Cup, and then Australia did it one time for some reason, and that's what we're looking at here. Like, I mean, people were acknowledging there was still a gap between Australia and the rest of the world. There's some conversation now in the media about like, does that still exist? I mean, I don't really see a problem. We should retain the urns. I mean, if you want to close the gap, you're going to have to hold some trophies first.
God help the women's team when they lose one. I swear to God.
And God help us.
That's all of
Pieces.
us. Once again, the counsellors are the winners. But I noticed that England captain Heather Knight, you know, said this summer's Ashes has been the best series there has ever been in the history of the women's game. And then like Elisa Healy's like, I don't know about that. Which I think
good.
I think that's 1-0 to Australia. I do you know, you just the real me is like, yeah, it's great, the entertainment's great, and I also think it's very magnanimous to call out I mean, they've had record crowds. England's played great cricket.
12,000 people at Southampton the other night.
Was it right? It's just there's so much interest. It's clearly growing in England. It's great. I said last week, and I stick with it, they should amalgamate them. Festival of Dangerous Ideas. I do enjoy the ECB's YouTube channel, which provides much needed highlights.
Yes.
I have to say. Australia, as far as I can tell, Australia won this game. The YouTube headline, and ours are always very accurate, first and foremost. Siva Brunt ton, but Australia win.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Yeah,
like they go pretty hard in the paint on.
Yes,
like at one point in these highlights, I obviously watch every ball, and then I watch the highlights just to catch the main.
In case you miss things,
I mean,
it's like a layered movie. You watch them more the second, you pick up more the second time.
That's like the sixth sense.
Yeah,
you know? Like you didn't.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't know why I'm driving by on whoever edits those highlights, but at one point, like they just showed Kate Cross bowling 3 bounces to Elise Perry that just were left.
Yes.
Why? She made 91. Let's get you know. So I just noticed some of the parochialism coming into the YouTube highlights, which makes me happier again that the urn's been literally returned.
Well, I watched the first ODI highlights on 9 Now, and those one goes, they're going by like 32 minutes, and because it was rain affected that first one, so I was actually watching like every run bank scored, and then I realised like, there's a lot of time I really don't like cricket.
yeah, that's right.
Especially those middle overs that just turn the strike over.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to Georgia Wareham, whose last over, I guess, like ballistic batting, basically changed the game. 37 off 14. I mean, England would have been their highest ever chase, I think, in ODI cricket, and nearly got there. Tammy Beaumont was looking exceptional, and as you say, Kingy changed the game. Absolute beauty. Yeah. Then gets Alice Capsey, 5 for 140. Australia's looking good, but Siva Brunt takes it deep, and then, you know, it was looking scary for Australia as well, because Georgia Wareham dropped her on 97 as well, with 20 to get off 11. They were coming home strong. And then even Jess Jonason's final ball, which, by the way, was a successful one, because England needed six to win. 4 to, was it?
Yeah, it was five to win, I think.
5 to win, yeah. 5 to win, 4 for a super over. So it was a 6 would have won the game. And had the courage to like toss it up. Yeah, that ball, she didn't spear that one in.
Get above the eye line.
Yes, just tempt it sort of high and wide. Yeah, it had a free swing at it, but you know, didn't connect, and that's the difference.
8-6,
and there you go.
I wonder. I still got absolutely no idea about Meg Lanning's ailment or reason why she didn't travel to the UK for the Ashes, but that was obviously a last minute thing that happened before Australia actually went over to the UK. I do wonder. I was just trying to think like what the reason was for Australia's like just slightly diminished performance, because I said this in the last game. There's something not quite right. You know, England have had good moments, but I don't think they're playing particularly well, dropping heaps of catches, particularly in the last game. And I just wonder, like, what are the reasons? And I wonder, like, if like how much that impacted the side. That I mean, that late change. Meg Lanning's obviously an extremely good player anyway. She's fucking Bradman of the women's side. Great record in ODIs, particularly chasing. But also the captain of the side, and I just wonder how much whatever's happened has impacted the side. I don't know. Now I'm speculating, which probably isn't helpful to the law. But yeah, I was just trying to find reasons. But even still, Australia still found a way to at least retain the urn, but that's not quite enough for me right now. You know, Stuart Broad talking about voiding series. I reckon like when it becomes 2-2 or an equal series, that does make it a bit void. That does make it a bit void.
Well, that's when you get into
because you haven't won it.
When you get into the realm of moral victories, you know.
Australia's having great press conferences, men's and women's.
Oh, you think so?
Well, Healy.
Healy,
Yeah,
I was very happy with that.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Pat Cummins saying stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was, I thought it was a bit of a crow's feet response to it. It was like, all right, settle down. Actually, you know what? I have to open up here. I didn't see her do it. I heard an ABC reporter report that Healy disagreed with it, but I couldn't find it. So I'm really making on that reporter being correct. Otherwise, Healy's just not said anything, and I'm attributing crow's feet to her.
It's fucking good.
No, let's do it.
All right, let's talk about the West Indies and India in their first Test match. India have won the game by an innings and 141 runs.
Famous win.
We called out on the last podcast we did was the end of day one, and the West Indies were all out for 150 after Ashwin took 5 for 60 and Jadeja took 3 for 26. Yeah, when last time we spoke, India were none for 80. They finished 421 for 5, thanks to Jaiswal and debut hitting 171. Rowe hit the captain 103. Virat hit 76 as well. So they had a lead of 271 after the first innings, declaring. West Indies all out for 130, thanks to Ashwin 7 for 71. Jaiswal was man of the match, who obviously scored 171 in the first dig there, as I said, on debut. Ashwin's taken 12 for 131. So what's he like as a bloke? No, I saw it was amazing. First and foremost, that West Indies have prepared that kind of wicket to play against India. Well done them. And also Ashwin just taken 12 for not being the best player in the game. But he's probably pretty decent shout to be best player. Anyway, whatever. Yeah. Nitpicking there.
No, I like it. Is 12 for better than 170?
Yeah. Especially in this day and age.
Yeah. A 10 for is a double ton.
Big time.
I mean, with my particular personality type, I must equate wickets to runs as well. Like everything has an equal.
Well, I like to
value.
Put it into footy terms for me.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So Ashton's 12 is like Collingwood.
Like Graham Myers and Messi. That was harsh. You know, people who missed that. There was a fake quote. It was a fake quote attributed to a storied broadcaster, Gerald Whateley. Who Michael Clark referred to as Gerald Wheatley. When people go in on him, they go hard, which I think is unfair.
He's a lovely man.
Good friend to our show and a very accomplished broadcaster. Among the biggest in the country, if not the. And there's a broader kind of movement in Australia online, I would say, to to ridicule people in Aussie rules who make unnecessary and strange connections between world sports and Aussie rules. And somebody made one up about Graham Myers, who's like a 100 gamer for Geelong, and having the same vision, if not better than Leo Messi, and put Whateley's name to it. And Jared was trying to get them to take it down online, which is basically Streisand effect, and made it worse, and it sucked. That was harsh, but it was. I don't know. That was just a lesson in the perils of online gear. I guess.
I mean, Messi for me, the way he goes about it, it's more about sort of Scott Pendlebury for me.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you don't need to attribute to Jared. Actually knows other sports. There are plenty of other people who actually will be. Oh yeah, he's probably right.
Yeah, haven't seen much of him over the journey. Anyway, so this game, I found it. Here's why I found it depressing. Twofold. First of all, that obviously the West Indies are coming out to Australia. Well, they are supposed to be. There seems to be some chat that maybe that wouldn't happen, but and then the other thing was
I reckon they're keen to come out for the ODI series. When white ball stuff.
That's true. When India were taking wickets, there was such muted celebrations. Like I was just watching like the most inevitable thing in the world. Like they were just gonna. I mean, first of all, Ashwin and Jadeja, they bowled fucking brilliantly. It was just like in the fourth innings of the game when they bowled out West Indies 130, it was everything you've ever seen before on a turning deck. It was just every ball was fucking hitting in the tram lines, and some was spinning, some weren't. Just attacking the front pad, inside edges. I dropped a couple of catches, India, but it was just relentless, and it was just this
What
wave after
uniforms were the
wave.
curators wearing?
CSK Dhoni jerseys. Anyway, so that was good. But just like when they were taking these wickets, they were just like they're all walking into the huddle. They weren't like getting up and about. They weren't like aggressively hugging each other. It was just like it was flat. It was really depressing watching it. And it was like, and obviously when you see the West Indies. Now, like the conversations at the end of this game are like, well, should the West Indies still play under the unified banner of the West Indies, or should they be representing like Barbados and Jamaica and like their own individual islands? Which I don't see how that represents any sort of progress at all. How that's going to make it better.
That's right. Yeah, let's disband this this organisation now. Let's disband this team now with this history as punishment for playing badly, and hopefully once we disband them, they'll finally be able to somehow improve.
Yeah, because I think the thought there is that they will care more if they're representing Barbados.
Oh, they'll want it more.
They'll want it more, yeah.
Well, that's the issue.
That's the issue. They don't want it enough.
It's the flag. Yeah, right.
It's not like systemic funding issues that are like, just completely diminishing returns of international cricket for those guys when they can go on franchise circuits.
Yeah.
It's not that at all. It's just they don't want it enough.
Yeah.
But that is genuinely the conversation.
As in
mate, I even saw Ian Bishop have to address it. On Crick Info. So it's more than just like a couple people on the internet. It's like a fairly like common discussion at the moment, which is just grim. Anyway, so the whole thing is like just fucking depressing. But gee, Ashwin, he's a good bowler, isn't he?
I think the biggest news line has been buried here because I think we should be discussing India's kit.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, India unveiled their kit. Now, this is test match kit, so now I'm talking to myself from 15 years ago. I'm like, yeah, no, they do it. They do a kit reveal. It's like, what, of white clothes?
Yeah.
Not anymore. India unveiled a kit with their new apparel sponsor, Adidas. A new front of shirt sponsor, Dream 11.
Yeah.
And it raises a few questions because now there's a few more squiggles, on a white jersey. Let's call it a shirt. It's not a jersey, is it?
No.
Has to be heavier to be a jersey. It has to have a different material.
Thicker collar.
Yeah, or some kind of, nylon polyester involved.
Yeah.
Or a very heavy cotton. Now, the thing is, I don't like, ideologically speaking, I don't like further trimmings on kits, on white cricket shirts.
I hate it.
But I will pause if Adidas is the trimming because I like the three stripes, generally speaking. Three stripes, whenever that happens in a football kit, I generally see it as an improvement. Three stripes is very malleable. It's very versatile. But the thing is, is an Adidas trimming, now a gateway drug to squiggles all over the shirt? Is it a gateway? Is it how former Australian Senator Cory Bernardi linked same-sex marriage to polygamy and bestiality, for which he resigned? Was the cat out of the bag once names and numbers were adopted onto jerseys, as we've long argued, which was initially a honey trap from the AFP to attract child sex offenders who bought that at shops like JD Sports and Rebel Sport. They're the questions we must consider. And I'm not sure if the BCCI considered this, And one more thing, can I just say, to finish this? I do like the adoption of Dream 11 onto the kit. Now, the red of the Dream 11 doesn't align with the colours of India for me. Prefer a blue if they were able to make that change, but brands are unwilling to do that. I do still think it suits the shirt more nicely than Budgy's, which for some reason just never felt right, particularly to say.
Yeah. Do you remember?
It's a good change.
Do you remember when...
It's a good change. It's an online education company, and they had good years. But Dream 11 has more iconography. We see Dream 11 with the IPL.
Yeah.
It looks nice on the kit. Dream 11 sounds nicer to say than Budgy's.
Yeah, that I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So everything is trending up, is what I'm saying. It's a positive move.
So remember Australia had Adidas for a while. They were sponsored by Adidas as well. But the three stripes were white.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah. Well,
on the test kit.
They were their pants. Pants.
Their
pants were Adidas.
Interesting, but they
that was like
it for the
2006, 7.
Oh yeah.
When I think 3 was a shirt sponsor.
I used to have Adidas pants actually. Come to think of it.
So I didn't mind the whites, but like the blue for me, and then it looks for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You
fucking
can speak freely.
Terrible.
Yeah. You don't want it.
I don't want it at all.
Yeah.
I want nothing to do with it.
Do you think it's gateway? Do you think the cat's out of the bag now?
Well,
we're
I
gonna
would
start
like to see
squiggling?
more gambling sponsors just in sport generally for me.
Or like a Crazy John's mobile, like a cross with that
Well, I would like
picture
to
of that caricature of that person who was quite inappropriate. With one eye pointed out the other way.
I would like to see the Australian team sponsored by Dodo, for instance, and a big fucking blue bird on the front.
Get really grim.
Yeah, really grim with it. Yeah,
Sky Bet or something.
Is a Crazy Frog still knocking about?
I'm sure. That didn't sound right either.
That didn't sound right to the year. That didn't sound right.
Yeah, let's steer clear of that.
Yeah, come on.
Look, talking about whites. How did you like to wear your whites, like your pants?
Oh, thank God we're talking about that. I can't handle the comment this week. How did I wear them? What do you mean?
Well, when I wore me pants, with trousers, I would
undies.
That's right. They're good undies by the way, but I like to wear it baggy because I just didn't want a tight pant while I was playing cricket out in the sun. But looking back, they were way too big for me. Way too big. Like it was, you know what I'm saying? I mean, obviously, pants are going back into being a bit baggy, or at least looser around the around the leg.
Well, people are wearing cargo pants again.
Yeah, so that's the latest. But for a long, I think a slimmer pant has enjoyed a good 15-year run.
Do you remember Warren's pants in the 2005 Ashes where they were kind of
flares.
They're flared?
He was flary,
but they were fitted through the thigh.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and then the boys in 2019 had their pants fitted as well, and they were slightly up and flaring because they were bored. I can only imagine rebelling against the rigors of JL.
That's right.
The JL
That's right.
operation.
Yeah. I don't know how I like to wear them. I just bought them off the rack. I mean, I wasn't tailoring them.
You didn't even have a particular proclivity, like I like how this fits around my,
Nah, not
leg.
Not really. No. Just bought the appropriate waist size just buy these and just wear them and
put them on and go.
Put them on, and then at the end of the day, you just take them off and that, and just give them to your mum, and she nappy sands it, and then you get a bit annoyed, like it was 2 days late, and it's like there's some grass stains on them. You're like, Mum.
Yes. What did you do between a Saturday-Sunday game if you had grass stains on your pants? Did you have multiple pairs?
Double up.
Just go again?
I did have multiple pairs, but I always have a favourite pair.
Yeah.
I wore Nike.
Okay, so you knew the brands you wanted.
I knew the brand I wanted,
You knew what you wanted. Yeah. Cream or ice cream?
It was a cream.
Had to be a cream.
Yeah.
That was always a good graduation. Starting to wear a cream instead of an iced cream.
Major League Cricket started, Pez. So I'll just give you the status update of what's happened in the game. So Seattle, the Seattle Orcas, that's the New South Wales linked team. They're 2 from 2. They beat Washington and San Fran. LA, they are none from 2. They've lost to Texas and New York. Now, the first match, Pez, you watched the first match?
Yep.
You watched the first match. So the first match is between TSK, that's a Texas Super Kings, and LAKR, which looks like Laker now I think about it, which is LA Knight Riders. So
T rhymes with C. Do you reckon that was part of it? Anyway.
Maybe. So we saw like this fucking a massive American flag when the teams walked out there. We're talking first responders out in the pitch as well, celebrating the first responders.
Sick.
Star Spangled Banner. Ali Khan from Texas, originally, he bowled the first ball. That was organised by the institution. It had to be American bowling the first ball.
Yep.
Faf getting out first ball to Lockie Ferguson. It's fucking 40 degrees Celsius in Texas. That's 103 Fahrenheit. fans getting in late to the ground. There was like a bottleneck to like the single entrance to Grand Prairie Stadium there. It's been a wild start to Major League Cricket, but there's been some positive stories out of it. But I think overall, the main interest for this first, I think for the organisers, they're like, can we make this work? And I think we build from there. But I think so far, I think it's worked so far. I don't know if it's the best thing I've ever seen, but like I think it's worked enough so far. But it's just also that crossover with like Americanisms and Star Spangled Banner and, you know.
Star Spangled Banger.
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard a few.
American Eagles, fucking first responders on the pitch.
Yeah.
You know.
Whitney Houston, Star Spangled Banger at Super Bowl that time.
That's right.
Yeah, it's very difficult. It's difficult to assess. I mean, such is the equal but opposite kind of culture of America to cricket.
Yeah.
It's like the other end of the cultural spectrum. You know, cricket is the exported English vehicle for civility.
Yes.
America fucked them off early doors and started their own shit. Doors. It's really difficult to know what success was meant to look like at the start because the reference point is nothing, really. So you just can't say like. I mean, we're looking at crowds that are, it says probably it's not even conservatively like probably putting it it's a word like I mean they're people are saying they're 2/3 full.
Yeah,
and looking like that to me, but like you're looking at 2 to 3K people in the stadium.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's good or not. I'm seeing players I recognise. I'm seeing jerseys that like are semi-recognisable, and like the decks look okay. Teams are making 180 and that kind of thing. It looks a bit like 8-bit IPL. You know, it's like a IPL in like low res.
Yeah, I recognise the colours and like the players, the shapes they move.
Like, is that good? I'm not saying it's meant to look like the IPL, but you're looking at it like, oh well, it's a thing. It's happened. People are there. They're playing. They're making heaps of bunts, doing it. I have no idea about whether it's. I'm not even sure what the aims are early on. I mean, it's probably why I should talk to people. But I think, as far as I understand, the aims are quite conservative, which is to like try and activate the expat population who like cricket in India, in America, who are often Indian or South Asian, and to go from there and to see what happens. So I don't know if it's penetrating the sporting zeitgeist. And I think it would be unfair to like project any judgment on it early. Yeah. I think a lot of people more broadly like would love to see if cricket can work in America and make some kind of splash. So I don't want to be down on it. I have seen some criticism online, which is again a very credible place of players dropping in and out, and that's not going to work for the American sporting market. And it's like, well, let's just give it a second. It happens at other leagues. I don't know.
It's interesting though that like what kind of market they're trying to capture with that comment, especially because like the American sporting market. Yeah, okay, I understand you want to get new fans into and new eyeballs into it, but for the most part, your foundation is going to be your expat community who are completely used to players dropping in and out. Well, I mean, they don't do that in the IPL, but they do basically everywhere else. So. I mean, two of the things that have caught the eye the most is obviously Finn Allen's run out by Jai Surya, I think it was, through the stumps. Then he dropped his bat. That seems to got the most clicks. And there seems to be like some sort of critique about Major League Cricket not being very good because this happened. It's like, well, first of all, he was on 29 off 10. So, I reckon
a lot of these teams have beaten the Adelaide Strikers.
And also Adam Zampa's 420 shirt for LAKR. Which is just classic Zampa. He also wear that he wore that jersey number from the IL T20 thing, which is much more of a risk there.
League,
yeah, much more of a risk there. I would have thought, given the punishment for marijuana consumption.
No, I thought that was good. That's good. That's good character. Cannabis culture stuff.
Yeah, especially in LA.
Yeah,
it's a huge part of the culture.
That's good. Yeah, I suppose it's just like there's a lot of things you reckon. Pommy and Bang was on the commentary as well. Yeah, Seattle Orcas are undefeated.
It's all good. Shit. It's all good production. I'm hearing the sounds I usually hear. Yeah. I'm seeing like it's a game of cricket. Like I'm still singing these things. It's just another franchise.
It just looks like the
100.
Yeah, to me, it's more like people say. I think we've said this before. It's like making a lot of comparisons with like Major League Baseball and stuff, like always being on, but it's more like for me this stuff's more like a golf tour. Like it's like going home at like 1 a.m. It's 2006.
Yep.
You've got the Knight Rider home on the LA Knight Rider, and your parents have Foxtel. Yep. And you turn it on and there's some like European tour golf on where you might recognise some names, but you don't really know the course, and there's just guys on a tour playing golf. Like,
I think I've seen Shane Lowry play before.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Like,
I feel like that's how we're meant to kind of take it. It's like there's Devon Conway again in his yellow jersey, and he's not to be confused with the yellow jersey wearing a circuit.
Right, okay, yeah.
And there's his 36 off 19 balls, and it's gonna compare unfavorably to the Ashes right now.
Yeah.
But I do think that's the vision for cricket. It's Conway making 36 off 19, wearing a yellow jersey at different times of night when you get home and turn it on.
Great analysis. All right, should we get into hashtag ASKTGC, Pez?
Probably.
Now, I had this audio message sent into us. It's actually a message from Scotland. Should we listen to it?
Yeah.
Fellas, a wee message from your friends in Scotland. How dare you show the team such disrespect when reporting about the World Cup qualifiers? What was it you said? Can you name a single Scottish player? Well, what about big Georgie Munsey? Left-hand bat, reverse sweepologist, part-time grey nickel salesman, a true legend of the game, international T20 player. And who could forget our leader, Richie Berrington? And of course, Rocket Man Chris Soule. That's 95 mile an hour bullets. That's shitty your pants sort of pace. Now, fellas, we like you. We don't mind the Aussies, but watch it. Just you watch it. Now, bare chest that, you smelly tan bastards.
Let's get him on.
Yeah.
Let's get him on.
I think we've just got a Scottish correspondent.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, they're not in the World Cup.
There's also a mate in the background just talking to him. Making a coffee. No, I want to get him on. That's good.
Well, we have no reason to, though, because Scotland aren't in the World Cup. They didn't make it.
I'm sure we could make some conversation.
Dave wrote in. He said, "Dear Ian and Sam,
Wow.
a correspondent."
Been a while.
And he wrote in via Patreon as well.
Oh, shit.
So,
okay, definitely wasn't it.
Yeah. A correspondent a few months ago had a story about cricket in Edmonton, which reminded me of Bradman's connection to Canadian wheelie bin park shit. Thought you might be interested. Ottawa, Canada's capital, has around 8 clubs that play on 3 grounds. One is located on the actual grounds of the Canadian Governor-General's residence called Rideau Hall. When I played there in 2009, the pitch was some sort of hard-packed gravel with matting over the top. As far as I could tell, the matting stayed there permanently. But goodness me, is it picturesque. Surrounded by maple trees, the GG's house, and an old wooden pavilion. In the pavilion is a photo of an invitational team on the ground from 1932, featuring Bradman, Arthur Maley, and others from a tour across North America, where they decimated the wheelie bin playing locals even before wheelie bins existed. I assume they used those old metal bins for stumps. The standard must have been dog shit, but I guess the Don wasn't bothered since he was raking in the bunts. I didn't plan this as an ASKTGC, but I'll add a question in case you see value in reading on the pod. Does anyone in Australian cricket actually like Michael Clarke? Regards, Dave.
I mean, just on that ground, like...
Do you know about this?
I
think I've heard about
I was
it.
aware. I think there's actually footage of Bradman in North America, playing in North America on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay. Right, okay.
But like, this is the thing. It totally makes sense to me that like as a colonial outpost, they would confect the greatest cricket ground ever that sits on the Governor General's house and has the world's most decadent and expensive accoutrements and ingredients for tea like truffle and caviar and edible gold.
Yep.
Foie gras. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
Gooseneck barnacles.
Yeah. I've never had foie gras, nor do I seek to, but yeah.
Iranian pistachios.
Right.
And you could have all of that. You could have the Taj Mahal as the fucking pavilion.
Yeah.
Which is the most beautiful thing I've seen with my eyes,
Yes.
man-made structure.
Yeah.
Comfortably. And the greatest like lawn or grass. But if it's on AstroTurf, I cannot hold my mouth in equul form.
Yeah.
I must adopt the Bell's palsy position
Right, of course, yeah.
for the entire day.
I was just down in the peninsula this past weekend.
Okay.
And I was just, I didn't really know that area that well. And I was just going past grounds. And some of them are like quite nice, right? And then you see a big old fucking thick piece of matting on the floor. And I think,
Yeah.
well, I can't respect this. I
Yeah.
can't respect these people that associate themselves with this club.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful clubhouse, a very manicured outfield. What I would give to playing a nice ground like that didn't have syringes and used condoms on the edge of the square.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, there is AstroTurf that should be used for
decking out children's front yards when dad wants to putt. Yeah. Shout out to Sorrento Sharks, by the way. I've done a gig down there. Good fellas, normal people, good cricketers at their club, apparently. But unfortunately, boys, and I say it to your face and I say it at the night, you play on Astro.
funny you say because that was literally the ground that I was talking about.
Yeah. Great ground, and probably one of the most heavily sponsored cricket clubs and footy clubs.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
We're down there in Sorrento. You're right there, Lindsay Fox's joint.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, you got the helicopter coming in and out there.
Yeah.
Hey, Linz, put some money behind that bar. I think Ponting's gone down there before.
For what?
Just walking his dog.
Oh, okay.
No, I think they've tried to get him
To
before.
play.
Not to play.
That's what I thought you
Hey,
meant.
Rick, want to bat 3? He'd be busy.
Thank you very much to Alex Malcolm for joining us. Thanks to all that have got around us on Patreon. If you want the reviews, the daily reviews and your audio feed, go to patreon.com/Great Cricketer. You sign up there and it will be dropping into your newsfeed at the end of every day's play for these last 2 finals Ashes test matches. And as we said earlier, fear governs everything. So if you want to celebrate that fear or if you want to see us melt down, then you can get behind us on Patreon. As I said earlier, thanks to Alex, and we'll see you guys on the internet real soon. Cheers.